This is a first impression review of the Grizzly G0758 milling machine, benchtop milling machine. I've already taken it out of the crate, but just give you an idea as to how they ship it. They ship it in this wooden crate. They bolt it to the bottom there with 4 very large bolts, so it's very secured. This is what comes packed loose with the Grizzly mill. We've got the drill chuck arbor, 2 T-bolts for use probably for attaching a vise, some Allen wrenches. This is a spindle lock pin, 2 screwdrivers, 3 wrenches. This is the handle for the Z-axis. A detailed instruction manual, which upon first look looks really nice. It has very good detail, written in excellent English. And then 2 spare fuses, at least I think they're spare. I haven't checked the machine, but I'm sure they have 2 in there already. And the battery for the Quill digital readout, an oil bottle for lubrication, and a little toolbox to put all these parts in. This is the Grizzly mill as removed from the shipping crate. I haven't done anything to it, except I did mount it to a stand. I didn't buy the Grizzly mill stand, which looks like an excellent stand, but it's pretty expensive, so I wanted to keep my costs under control. So this is a Harbor Freight metal stand, and when you bolt the plywood to the top and you bolt the machine to that, it becomes quite a stable setup. And I put it on a rolling platform down here, and that allows me to move the machine around, but when I'm not using it, I block the corners up. I lift up the corners and I put wooden blocks under there to make it very steady. So it appears to be a pretty steady setup. Now I'm going to go through the instructions and clean the machine up and go through the break-in procedure and very carefully, and let's see how this thing works. Okay, I've performed the maintenance on the machine, which is cleaning all the shipping grease off and cleaning the ways and the lead screws and then lubricating everything. Inserted the battery into the digital readout, and that works. Let's see, there you go. So we can zero that, so that works fine. Leave that off. Now that's the maintenance section for cleaning. They're very detailed in describing how to clean the machine and how to lubricate it. Now we're going to go into the spindle break-in. Before you can use the machine, you're supposed to break in the spindle to distribute the grease around the gears in the headstock. So this is a series of incremental speeds from low to high. They recommend 10 minutes each. So I have not turned this machine on at all, so this is really the first time. Let's see what happens. I got it plugged in. It's rotating slowly. Okay, I think I've learned something here. If when you retract the guard, it shuts the spindle off. Didn't know that. Okay, let's leave that on. So we'll turn this back on here. So they say to set it for 50. Alright, we got 49. So now it's 10 minutes running here, and then we increment it to one other speed in the low range, and then we switch to high. We do 2 speeds in the high range. So we're starting out in the low range. Alright, well, I'll check back in with you when I'm done with the break-in. I finished the spindle break-in. It took an hour. It's 6 separate speeds at 10 minutes of speed. And it runs a little bit quieter and smoother after running the break-in, so that's something you definitely want to do. Let's just quickly go over some of the items on this machine. It says on the specifications here that the longitudinal table travel is 13 inches. And I checked that out between these two stops. I took it to the limits and it's 13 inches. The cross table travel they say is 5.5. I measured that. It's more like 5 3/8, so it's quite close. And then it says the maximum distance from spindle to table is 9 inches. So I brought up the head to its maximum position, and I measured the distance from here to the spindle, the face, and it's about 8 5/8. So it's a bit shy, maybe about a ½ inch shy on that specification. The machine has a digital readout for the quill. You turn it on and you choose inches and millimeters. There, you can zero it out. It has two different kinds of feeds, both of them manual, but you have your what they call the coarse feed, which is just bringing your quill down with the standard handle here, and then they have a fine feed right here, which is activated by this knob here. You tighten this, and now you can do a fine feed. Now if we look at the readout, you can see it changing. You can dial in 1/2 thousandths of an inch with this, so it works pretty well, but it has some resistance. It's easy to turn for part of it, and then it gets hard to turn. So it's not super smooth, but it certainly works quite well. Then you unlock it, taking this out, and then you're back on the coarse feed. This is the access hole for lubricating the gears in the head. This is your low speed and your high speed for your spindle. This is the hand wheel for raising and lowering the head. This is equivalent to a Bridgeport knee. You just raise and lower this to get your rough position for cutting, and then you lock it in place, and then you use these feeds for your machining operations. It has a way cover here on the back so the chips don't get into the ways or the screw. This cap covers up the collet drawbar. This machine has a rather small drawbar bolt head. It's 8 millimeters, so you just use this small wrench here, and that cap covers it up. I have the drill chuck that came with the machine in there right now. It looks like a reasonably good drill chuck. I haven't used it yet, though. This guard here, as I discovered before, is a limit switch that cuts the machine off. You can hear the clicking right there, and that does work, as I already found out it does. We turn off the digital readout. That runs on a battery, so I don't want to run that one down. This machine weighs 161 pounds. It's not that hard to handle. It's nowhere near as heavy as those normal mill drills that we have seen in the past. So I bought this because it was a lighter weight than that, but it looked like it was built rather substantially, and it looks like it is. I like the size of the castings. I like the overall design. I like the fact that the head raises and lowers by this lead screw here, and then you have your separate quill, just like a Bridgeport. So it has a lot of the features that I'm used to working with. Now let's see how this thing sounds, so you can get an idea as to how much noise it makes. Right now I have it in low speed, so that'll be 50 to 1,000 RPMs. Should start up on 50 or thereabouts. So that gives you an idea as to the noise level. It's not too bad. When you get it up on maximum, it's kind of screaming along there, but there's no mashing of gear teeth sound or anything like that. It sounds quite smooth. So I'm quite happy with that. So overall, the fit and finish is very nice. I'm very, very pleased with the finish of the grinding of the table. The painting of the machine is very good. It has nice clean edges. Nothing is cutting me when I put my hands on it, so they broke all the edges very, very well. It has gib adjusters here. There's a backlash adjuster according to the instructions that you can adjust the backlash. Right now it looks like there may be 2 to 3 thousandths of backlash built in right now, and I haven't even fooled around with it. These X and Y axis hand wheels are graduated in 2/1000ths of an inch increments, and its one revolution is 100/1000ths of an inch, so it's already set up to be friendly to the English system. And this scale here is set up in inches. This is the same as the Y-axis. The quill feed has resettable wheels here that are in 1/1000ths of an inch, and then there's another rotatable wheel here where you can set 0, so no matter where your quill is, you can lock it in and then reset a visible 0 here. But since you have a digital readout, I don't really know how useful that's going to be. It might give you more of a rough indication for setup. Another feature of the mill is that the head will tilt plus or minus 45 degrees. The column stays stationary and the head pivots along this face here. I trammed it in to see just how good I could get it, and it's quite close to its index marks in here, but I don't think it's perfect. It's hard to tell. It's very hard to see these index marks. The camera is kind of behind the quill, but with the quill and the chuck in the way, it's hard to see it. And so I think every time you use the tilt, you may have to tram this thing back in, which is kind of a pain, but I don't think I'll be using the tilt feature too much. It's held on by a main bolt on top and a locking bolt on the bottom, so it looks like it's quite stable. Overall, I would say that this mill looks very, very nice. Looks like it was built very well. It's finished very well. I think it'll do everything that I need it to do. I'm quite impressed with it. It doesn't strike me as the same kind of inexpensive mill that we used to get 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago. I think they've come a long way, and I think Grizzly designed a good mill here, or has a good mill spec'd out.